you still have a sweet tooth, the number one recommendation that I can give you is just cut out all processed things. But I just want to emphasize that the long term should always be to cut out sweetness, protein bars, protein shakes, all those things, because as long as you keep them, your brain never really forgets. The craving is still there. And it should take around 14 days for most people for cravings to completely disappear, right? I recommend gradually cutting down on all of the sweetness in your diet. So if you're consuming a ton of sweet stuff or multiple times a day, cut the amount per half, or cut the a number of times that you have them. If you have 2 sweet things per day, cut them by half, and do that for 2 days each. And then eventually you'll reach a point where, let's say you were having 3 protein bars a day, then cut it to 2, then cut it to 1, and then eventually it's so much easier then you'll forget to even have that 1 protein bar. And then once you have 1 day under your belt, it's like fantastic, then day 2, day 3, and then you'll get to those 14 days and it just becomes so much easier. Exercise also helps so much because it stimulates the brain's dopamine system to produce all of that dopamine, and also it increases dopamine receptors, so that even when you're not working out, your just baseline level is much higher in terms of mood and dopamine function. That's the main reason why people are tempted or are vulnerable to outside sources of dopamine, which come in the form of addictive foods or come in the form of sweetness. Whatever they're training right now, I would recommend that you increase the intensity and the volume of your training so that it increases even more dopamine and D2 receptors. So there's like a dose-dependent relationship between how much exercise, volume of exercise, and the intensity of exercise. The more of those you have, the more dopamine you have, and the more dopamine receptors you have, because you need both to really experience the high that comes from having optimal dopamine levels all the time. But yeah, I just use the regular taco seasoning. My hubby likes to use the spicy one. I don't like spicy stuff. So
yeah.
So that really is minimal sugar in terms of the amount of flavor that it gives the food. Other than that, I mean, you can use whatever kinds of spices that you like. Just make sure you always check the ingredient list, because similarly to what happened to me, sometimes if it's a blend, you might not realize how much added carbohydrates and sweet stuff it's got. And so if your goal is to reverse diabetes or maintain a regular blood sugar levels, then sugar in the form of seasonings can quickly add up throughout the day.
The key thing is to make sure the carbs are ultra low or zero, and then pretty much okay to use it, right?
Then yes, okay. Then you should be fine. There's always the chance that you might react to, because remember, those are still plant foods, right? And so if you have an autoimmune condition, you really want to be careful.
And if someone's thinks there might be allergic to something, then they can do an elimination diet and they'll narrow it down. Right?
Yeah. And again, my hope is always to transition everybody eventually to a carnivore diet, even if you feel like you don't have an outward reaction or you don't have multiple sclerosis symptoms or any kind of autoimmune disease symptoms, it's best to prevent them from happening. Because if you eat those foods, even if it's spices and seasonings and plant foods over 10, 20, 30, 40 years, eventually you will start to develop some autoimmunity. And so we want to prevent that from ever happening. It's not as bad just because it doesn't have as many omega-6, which are the most inflammatory kinds of fats, which make up the vast majority of all the other oils on the market.
But it may not be real olive oil, right? It may be canola and olive.
You want to be careful. Like, that's true.
The Store's brand, pretty cheap, $5.98.
Right.
And here you have, looks like an Italian brand, super premium selection. Well, we don't know, right? We don't know if it's really extra virgin olive oil.
We want to check the ingredients to make sure that it doesn't say a blend, because sometimes they'll say olive oil, but then it's actually a blend where they mix a small amount of olive oil with other things. And every once in a while, we'll hear in the news that some researchers decided to do the good work for us, and they'll go and they'll check, and it'll turn out that even the olive oils don't have actual olive oil. So there's a lot of tampering involved. So I would make sure that the company is reputable that you're buying from. And I would say the same thing with avocado oil. That also happened where it was, I think, like what, 80% of the avocado oils were not really compared to other oils. You're good with olive oil, you're good with avocado oil, and coconut oil. All the other ones that you're showing right now, those are the worst, right? All of those vegetable oils, whether it's sunflower, safflower, all of those, you do not want to touch them.
Right, even if it has a heart on it, right?
No. You do not want to listen to the American Heart Association if you really want to achieve optimal cardiovascular health. They're the last people that are going to get you there. The American Heart Association was literally placed on the map after Procter and Gamble gave them a grant of $1.7 million in the early 1900s in order to promote the cottonseed oil waste product that came from the cottonseed production, because they just wanted to increase their market share, and they figured, why not use this waste product and actually convince people that it's healthier than the fats they're already using, which were real whole fats like lard and tallow from animal foods. And so the American Heart Association was, nobody knew about them. They were a small little organization, literally like 5 or 6 cardiologists that headed small, tiny little groups, and they gave them $1.7 million, and they were like, in exchange for that, we'd like for you to use your authority figure and tell everybody how much healthier it is to consume those highly processed engine lubricants instead of the competition which we were eating, which were real whole food animal fats. And the only reason the American Heart Association has any influence or power whatsoever is because they've accepted all of these tons of money and collaborations with processed food companies, and that's why they have the money. All of these organizations are in a way the same, because the reason why they're large organizations is because they have sped up the process instead of relying on actually reversing diabetes, which I don't think they believe they could do. It's all of those collaborations with the food companies, unfortunately. I mean, they're still recommending that dietitians give 45 to 65% of one's calories and carbohydrates to diabetic patients. It's like, we'll give you the carbs and then we'll give you the drug so that your body can handle the carbs that we're giving you. Anything that has more protein in it is going to suppress your appetite for the longest period of time. As much as I think keto is fantastic, when you're including those kinds of the keto fat bombs, the amount of calories that is condensed in a small volume of food and the sheer lack of protein in them makes me not recommend them at all to any of my weight loss clients. It's whey protein, so it's based on, so that I've noticed does not give me any soreness, because I train so hard. If I include any kind of plant foods, I start feeling the soreness from my workouts. And so this one, no, anything that's plant-based you want to completely eliminate. It
won't have the amino acid complex you need, right?
Exactly. Not in the good ratios to one another, and most definitely not very well absorbed as compared to animal-based proteins. So that's why I like the Premier protein, is because it is mainly animal-based. It's not the healthiest thing. Those things have emulsifiers in them that can mess with your gut integrity. So never look at those things as great long-term options. You don't want to rely on those long-term, but if we're doing a transitional period, then yes, that would be fantastic.
I've just started taking this, which is based on egg instead of whey.
Macros are perfect. The macros are great. Yeah, I love it. 24 grams of protein, almost just 3 grams of carb. Let's see, egg protein, okay, and then cocoa, natural, non-GMO, what non-GMO sunflower, okay, that's pretty clean compared to the stuff on the market. That's the go. I like that. As long as you don't have an egg sensitivity, then it's good.
And then I've been taking this for a couple of years, Bub's Naturals
I love
collagen.
So.
Bulletproof, is that a pretty good brand?
Yes, I love all bulletproof products are all generally a good product. It's definitely one of the better things that you can put in your body. What I wouldn't do is the plant-based ones, the no cow, I believe they're plant-based. I would stay away from plant-based stuff.